Hello everyone. I hope you all will be fine. As I promised in my 2 days back video, that was hello video for you people, that I will upload the very more important topic that is about the Jeremy Bentham's theory of utilitarianism. And now it is here. Jeremy Bentham theory of utilitarianism is very important for the paper in political science, Western political thought, international relations, as well as I came to know that some business administration students, BBA students, are also studying this theory of utilitarianism in their contemporary world paper. So that means this video is going to be useful for so many people. Well, if before I start my this interactive lecture with you people, I would like to request you all who are listening by this video, kindly share this video with as many students, as many colleagues, as many knowledge levels as much, because you know the principle of YouTube channel that when a video is circulated more, then YouTube also obliged to move it on and on and on, so that maximum number of those students who cannot have this access, who does not have any kind of facility around them, can enjoy and can listen this lecture and can take benefit of it. Okay, thank you very much. Let's start with our lecture. Jeremy Bentham, 1747-1832 is the living period of this in this world. He was an English jurist, philosopher, and social reformer. He was a chief founder or expounder of utilitarianism, theory of utilitarianism. Jeremy Bentham was a son of an attorney, and is said that at the age of 4, he had started study Latin. He managed to hear lecture of Sir William Blackstone, who was the famous English judge at Oxford, but he immediately detected the fallacies that underlay the grand eloquence of that future judge. He spent most of his time in speculating more on theoretical aspects of legal abuses rather than reading law books. Jeremy Bentham, let's suggest first of all, I would like to here stop and start with some example. This is why I'm saying that this will be an interactive and will be interesting lecture. There is there is an example that a man is driving a train whose brakes are failed. They are not functioning. Train is going on with full speed on its track. At the end of the track, what he saw that there are four persons, four laborers working on that track. What is the option for the driver? Kill them or derail the train on the side of the track. But what happened? Another man is also standing by the side of the track. So, what's the option left for the driver? Should we kill one and save the four? What's your opinion about that? See, the concept of utility, concept of player, maximum player, keep in mind. Like there are four persons. If you kill four persons, one person have at least 30 people as his family, as his brother and sister. And 30 into 4, how many people will be suffered by the killing of, by the death of these four? And if that one person have only 30% around him as a brother, sister, family, near close family, so maximum will be suffered by the death of maximum, and minimum will suffer by the death of minimum. So what you suggest about that? What is the option for driver? Another example, and little bit horrible for me as well. A very famous court case in English history known as Queen versus Dudley Stephens. Dudley Stephen, Queen versus Dudley Stephens is a case that happened in 1884. Is a leading English criminal case which established a precedent throughout the common law world that necessity is not a defense to a charge of murder. What happened? That three men on board, four men are on board, three are one is the two are the crew member, one is the captain. Dudley Stephen is the captain, and there is young fellow at the age of 17 years. He was Richard Parker, who was an orphan boy, and he was a cabin boy serving these three people. Their ship was wrecked, and they were on a small boat trying to save themselves from and waiting for some rescue. To they were on open sea, and they do not have anything to eat. What happened? That After nearly 3 weeks at sea, in a small boat without having any food, any water, any provisions, uh, with little hope of rescue was not visible to them. No, two of the crew members, Tom Dudley and Edwin Stephens, decided that in order to save their own lives, they would need to kill and eat ship's 17 years old Richard Parker, the cabin boy, who by that time had fallen seriously ill after drinking seawater. They decided to kill Parker and live on his meat and blood till they are rescued. They killed Parker with penknife and lived on his body and blood, his meat and blood for the another 13 days. And next day, on 14th day, they saw a ship and they were rescued. But when they reached England, they told what happened with Parker and what they did in the boat to save themselves. But they were arrested, and the court case was heard in the court. What's your opinion? Whether it was justified to kill Parker because he was orphan, he has no relative, he was ill, so they thought that he is the right person to be killed because there is no one to cry on him. But these three people have families, they have beloved ones with them, so they are waiting for them. So they choose to kill one and save three. Was it justified? And what was the decision of the court? Let's see. The court decided that the defendants, who were the Dudley Stephens and the other crew members, three members, were convicted of murder. They were sentenced to death. But in that decision, when they were sentenced to death, the decision was made by the judgment was made by the court. There was a recommendation that if they want to get pardon from the Queen and the Crown, they can do so. So they did, and they applied for pardon, and they were granted pardon by the Crown, and they only served 6 months imprisonment, and then after that they came out of the prison. So horrible. Keep in mind these two examples. Come to the Jeremy Bentham and political and social advocacy. Jeremy Bentham was not only an eminent theorist in Anglo-American philosophy of law, he was a person, you can say, that who was born to just read the law because he was the son of an attorney. Law was at their home. Bentham was a son of an attorney, and it is said that at the age of 4, Bentham started studying Latin. He managed to hear lectures of Sir William Blackstone at Oxford, and he immediately detected the fallacies that underlay the grand eloquence of the future judge. It is also said that he spent most of his time in speculating more on theoretical aspects of legal abuses rather than reading the law books. He promoted welfareism. How? He said mankind, human beings, have or governed by two sovereign. Human beings have two masters. One is pleasure and other is pain. And the principle of utility recognized this state of affair, that how much an action and a policy, a welfare program is promoting welfare, public welfare. He advocated individual and economic freedoms. He says that punishment brings pain. So punishment is not allowed to use until and unless it is using for the exclusion of, for extracting the evils, the greater evils, extracting allows just to use punishment. Otherwise, punishment, because punishment brings pain, so it should not be used in any way. He advocated for separation of church and state, like religion and the politics should have their own roles and their own domains. They should work within their own domain separately. Church should deal with the religion, state should deal with the political situation of the country, of the state. Freedom of expression was very much promoted, equal rights for women, for right to vote, for right to governance for women. Abortion of slavery was very much promoted by Jeremy Bentham, because he says that no free, all persons are free, but no one can become a slave, and it is not acceptable for any person to be a slave. So he was the great promoter of abolition of slavery. He came also known as the advocates of animal rights. He was the person who promoted animal rights as well at that time. But above all, the most famous theory is the theory of utilitarianism, which we talked. Jeremy Bentham's writings on an introduction to the principles of moral and legislation, 1789. This writing was done in 1789, is based on three principles, and you can say the basis of utilitarianism is these three principles. And what are they? Number one, the greatest happiness principle. The first principle is the greatest happiness principle. An act, any law, any policy or reform is considered good and right if it gives happiness and pleasure to the maximum number of people. This is the first principle he is giving on his utilitarian theory. Second principle is a hedonistic principle. Hedonistic means pleasure and absence of pain. As I already told you that according to Jeremy Bentham, human beings have two masters in their lives. One is pleasure and other is pain. It means the only thing considerable are the intensity, duration, probability, closeness, continuity, and pureness of pleasure and pains in question. That if any principle, any law or reform will be judged, it will be judged how much intensive, how much long, how much continued the pleasure or the pain will be. This will certain the welfareness of the reform or policy or law or in a state. Third principle is the principle of impartiality. While considering pleasure and pain, impartiality to individualism will be maintained, and only max will be followed in the most demanding way. Now, the principle of impartiality. Keep in mind the two examples which I already quoted. One is the train, and other is the Queen versus Dudley Stephens, where the Parker was killed. That means individuals are not Care of. They are not being taken care of. Just maximum number and maximum happiness was the major crux of the major, you can say, the theme of the this theory of utilitarianism. There is no individualism. There is no individual persons. There is no equality, concept of equality. There means only consider maximum. So principle of impartiality means just be impartial to the individual. What an individual is doing or thinking or feeling, just forget it and just go for the maximum. This is the three principle. One is the greatest happiness principle. Second is the hedonist principle. That means absence of pain and having maximum pleasure. And the third is the principle of impartiality. That impartiality should be ensured at the cost of individuals, and the maximum should get pleasure at any cost. These are the three principles on which theory of utilitarianism is based. If I analyze Bentham theory, I came to know that there is only happiness. Happiness, and happiness is the only qualifying measure of good life. According to him, good life is only happiness. If people are happy, this is a good life. Happiness is the only measure for right and wrong. If some reform, some policy, some act are giving pleasure, it is right. And if it is giving pain, it is wrong. So happiness is the only thing that makes good life, that makes right and wrong. Then maximum happiness for the maximum number of people, not for all people, just maximum number. Just ignore the minority, just ignore the individuals. And utility is the only scale for him. Where whatever thing give utility mean happiness. That is the only, you can say, scale That is the only judgment, that is the only standard for the utilitarianism to judge a thing that is good or bad, right or wrong. Then I can say consequentialist versus individualism. Bentham theory based on consequentialist consequences, outcome of any act. If outcome of any act giving pleasure, that is good. If outcome of anything is giving pain, that is bad. Individuals are being suffered, no issue. Consequences for maximum number of people should be based. Critique of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism critique are full of all the history is full of that utilitarianism's critique. But I here I have just quoted two critique, that is one is the egalitarian theorist. Egalitarian as names by name you can say egalitarian based on they say or they work for they go for they stand for equality, who by definition favor an equal distribution. They say egalitarians say against the utilitarianism that not maximum happiness for maximum number of people. They say that individuals have basic needs and that basic needs ought to be met before less important desires and preferences can be taken into account. Basic needs should be given preference instead of desires and luxuries and other things that give more pleasure to the people. Basic needs of every person should be kept in mind while giving pleasure or rewards, or you can say equal distribution. They are talking about equal distribution. Here I am quoting this quotation. This number one is showing that there is a quotation. This is a quotation, and this is asked by Baker J. 1987, arguing for equality, London, New York, Warsaw. This footnote I gave here just for you people to put it on in your paper. That will enhance your mark and that will give a good impression to your examiner that you have researched this topic quietly and very thoroughly. Then another critique of utilitarianism is a meritorian, merit-based. They say rewards should be merit-based. Meritorian philosophers believe that merits and deserts rather than the maximization of utility should guide the allocation of rewards. Here, this is the another footnote. There is Campbell. This quotation is given. This Meritorian philosopher Campbell T is written about it. 1988, Justice London. This quotation you will quote, and then footnote also be given. And this critique, keeping in mind the whole picture of now utilitarianism, I will talk about the limits of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is limited. It does not account for individual rights. It does not account. I already told you that individual are just ignored. Individuals be impartial with individuals. Just go for the maximum number of the maximum people, maximum happiness for the maximum number of people. Just ignore individual rights. Then utilitarianism ignoring the unpredictable situation of future. No one can predict future. How one can say that a good act will bring good thing? They may be the good act will bring bad and bad bring a good one. That may be, but here utilitarianism ignored this aspect of future, that future is unpredictable, and they are ignoring this element limits of this utilitarianism is that they are ignoring this. Then relative happiness. Happiness is not all for all. Happiness is not for all. If you say that maximum happiness for the maximum number of people, that cannot be, because if one thing is happiness for you, that may not be happiness for others. Because happiness is always almost relative. Means relatively that will be good for one and other for other it will be not so much important for them. So happiness is not you can say an overarching and prevailing aspect of everyone. Matters related to the society is only concerned with the public welfare. When we talk about the maximum number of maximum happiness for the maximum number of people, we will just touch those aspects of human beings' lives that are related to the society, not with the private matters. Or because private matters are private rights and that cannot bring in public reform. You cannot bring people's private lives into public and you try to make them happy and maximum people should be happy for that, but no, public life, public welfare is just only related with the society. So that means that you cannot go into the private lives and make their people lives better or happiness and something like that. This is the limitation of utilitarianism. While concluding, I would like to say that keeping in mind the whole picture of utilitarianism, maximum happiness for the maximum number of people, life is not so simple, life is very complex. It is not simply based on happiness and pain. There are so many things in life which are troubling people, which are testing people's strength and their valor and their courage. If it's simply not happiness and matter of happiness and pain, there are certain things in human life that have intrinsic value for human beings. Happiness have two kinds. One is uh, one is the instrumental value of a thing, and then is the other is the intrinsic value of a thing or a happiness. Instrumental value, some luxury life, good house, big house, luxury cars, and luxury life. That is instrumental value of happiness. And intrinsic value, that a person internally feel happiness by doing that acts. So these are not taken into account by the utilitarianism. However, we can say that Bentham succeeded to give its principles a title of utilitarianism. This is a wrong here, yeah, title. Spelling is by mistake or typo error. This is the title of utilitarianism because it is said that Bentham was not the first person talking about these principles of utility, but these were already in the discussions, in the debates at that time in the society. But no one had given the title, and these principles were given a title by as a utilitarianism by the Jeremy Bentham. And the most important thing is that Bentham succeeded and he achieved the realization of importance of public welfare policies at the state and organization level. That states should prefer to make those policies, those acts, those reforms that are public welfare based. As so far as utilitarianism is concerned, Jeremy Bentham is concerned, he achieved that mindset given to the states and the organizations that they should work only for the welfare of the people. This is the contribution of Jeremy Bentham's theory of utilitarianism in state, in politics, in organizations, and overall human being society. I hope you will like this lecture, and I always ask you people to kindly comment. Give comment why you are so miser giving comments to me. I'm so surprised for that. Give your comments and subscribe my channel. Forward it to maximum people. I would like to hear from you and looking for your comments. Thank you very much. Next topic will be on the jurisdiction of International Criminal Court and Gaza, Israel states of affair. Right, Chief? Thank you very much.